Magic Barn and the inner sanctum of the Magic Barn. Kelly's morgue, or, morgue. Look at all these things that are totally disintegrated. Wow, look at this stuff.
It's a world of magic happens.
Yes. We are about to interview the president of the Pine Tree Boating Club, which is a division of the Antique Outboard Motor Club. And David Kelly is the president, and we'd like to ask him what got him interested in antique motors.
Fasty. All right. Well, I've always been interested in old things, and I love retro style, funky 50s, 60s, 40s, antiques and things like that. And when my kids were young, I used to read them lots of children's books, and one of our favorites was this one by Chris Van Dusen. He's a author illustrator from Camden, Maine, and the styling of this book is fantastic.
Okay, yeah, I've seen his stuff before.
Yeah.
Did he? Was this when you were living in New Jersey, or were you up here in Maine at this point?
This was here in Maine.
Okay.
Yep. And so we used to read this book many, many evenings. And during the day, I was working as a therapist in a public school system, supervising a special education program. And sometimes I'd travel between different schools. And whenever I'm driving along the roads in Maine, this will seem familiar to a lot of viewers, I'd always be looking to see what's in people's yards. And I noticed a boat in a yard, a nice wooden plywood runabout in this guy's yard. And on the side it had this little swoop. It was,
okay. You mean the paint swoop?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a wooden
side.
panel, but it was that swoop shape on the side. And it really caught my eye. I said, that's Mr. McGee's boat. And I said, if I ever see anybody in the yard there, I'm going to stop and talk to them. And one day I was driving back from a meeting, and there was an old guy out in the yard. And I stopped to talk to him. And 45 minutes later, I was a boat owner. He was the original owner of this boat. And it was a wooden plywood runabout built in Thomaston, Maine. It was a Cornell. And it had a Mercury Mark 58 on the back. And it had a teeny trailer. And so I bought this boat. And then all the way home I was trying to come up with a story about how to explain to my wife how we bought a boat. But anyway, I ended up buying the boat and staying married. And at some point, I needed to have some work done on the engine. I tried to learn myself how to repair the engine, but I couldn't figure it out myself. And I went to a local marina, and they said, we don't work on those old things. There's a guy down in Waldoboro that works on those. And so one day I pulled into the driveway down there, and that's where I met you, Lincoln. Opened up the trunk, and there was my Mark 58A in the trunk. I actually sunk the boat in Moosehead Lake. That's a whole nother story, but the motor was submerged and needed some attention. But so that's how I became involved. That's my first foray into outboards at all. That's it, the first outboard I ever owned. And I left the motor with you to work on it while I restored the boat. And I guess you saw that I spent a lot of time restoring that boat, and it came out really nice. And at some point you saw that I was serious about it, about these old things, and You invited me to come to a meet. That was about 15 years ago.
David, I think it was longer than that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I do.
So anyway, that's how I became involved with antique outboards. I bought a second Mark 58A because I thought I could use it as a parts motor. And then I bought a third, and then I bought something else, and I have, I have a couple more motors now.
For all of you who have not seen the Magic Barn, there's a good tour of the Magic Barn, which I'm giving you a little preview of, with Mr. Kelly's, President Kelly's total collection. And then there's the Field of Dreams, which is all the boats that are outside. Mm-hmm. So
every season, doing this, doing the work that I do, I'm a therapist in private practice. For 22 years, I worked in public schools, and it was very stressful. A lot of impossible situations and systems and bureaucracies that were mind-bending. But what I really came to love tinkering with these antique outboards because it was tangible. You would take something apart and you can find broken pieces, and hopefully you can find some replacement parts and be able to put it back together and make it run. And so weekends and vacations, I just couldn't wait to come home and start taking things apart and sometimes be able to put them back together. But that's been good therapy for me, to be able to work with my hands. And I love antique outboards. I love old boats. I like to pair up old boats with period correct outboards. Lincoln is teasing me about the Field of Dreams. Each season, after a long winter, about springtime, I would start a new project. I'd find some old clunker boat that I bought cheap or got free, and I just would go in deep, restoring it. And hopefully by summertime, I'd have it done and get to run it. And when I was done with all the hours and whatever money I put into it, you never get that money back selling these things. And so I have plenty of fields, and I've got a big barn, and eventually I tuck that away and start another one the next season. So that's how I've acquired so many boats and motors.
So then how did you end up being the president of the Pine Tree Boating Club? Was it because you had so many boats and motors people felt you deserved it, or is it because nobody else wanted to do the job, or was it because you hired some people from New Jersey to come up and twist a few arms and get all the votes? Or let's see, what else can we think of?
Well, what we have up here are a group of men and women who love to run antique outboards. Our meets are very fun. We love to restore these things and run them. And we had a club in Maine that was not part of the Antique Outboard Motor Club, and it was kind of got stalled, got stuck, and a bunch of us were getting a little bit frustrated with that. We really wanted to get things going again. And we had the idea, most of us were members of the Yankee chapter of the Antique Outboard Motor Club. That usually involved going down to Massachusetts or New Hampshire. Few of us would go down to Connecticut for those meets. But we decided that we'd like to try to start our own chapter here in Maine.
I would say that you were probably the spark plug of starting the chapter here in Maine, without question about that. You were very, very, very adamant about making that happen, and you were very good at doing, getting a hold of the right people to make it happen.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back then, we did get chartered. We became a chartered chapter of the Antique Outboard Motor Club. And My vision was that the president and the vice president and the secretary, these would be 2-year terms.
Yeah.
And it'd be really good for the club if these positions rotated every couple of years. And after my first 2 years, we got things going really well.
Yes, you
and
did.
We had a really active season, and we had shirts made up and boating club burgees, and we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It still is a lot of fun. But when it came time to invite applicants to become president of the Pine Tree Boating Club, there was people were very excited for me to continue.
Well, you're adept with people, David. You're a people person when it comes to that. And anybody who wanted to be president really didn't have what it took to make things work well. Yeah. I got to say that about you. You've been extraordinarily adept at bringing people together and having fun and getting these meets going and getting the best out of everybody around you. So,
well, thank you. Yeah. The most important part to me is that people show up to meets and want to have fun. There's a lot of passion in this chapter, and people keep showing up, and it's so much fun. It's been, I wonder how many years it's been. Probably about 10, 12 years that we've had a chapter.
Easy, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have members that come from other states. They come up here because we've got great water here in Maine, and there's a lot of fun. We laugh all the time, and there's a little bit of competitive spirit in this club. There's some guys that like to go fast.
No.
Oh yes. And there's a lot of encouragement for new members to join. They get a lot of help.
You've done a great job with that, by the way, David. The tendency of the predecessor club was really quite exclusionary and exclusive. I don't know how to say it, but it was basically racing guys. I mean, I'm one of the guilty members, so, and anybody who wanted to join kind of had to do that, and it died for whatever reason, but we won't get into that. But yeah, but I think you're very good about making sure that people are welcomed into the club, and we address their project, their boat, their motor, whatever, and trying to make them feel like they're very definitely wanted and be part of the club. Mm-hmm. And you've been very good about facilitating that. Yeah. And taking care of those people that were upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, that doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. It does happen, but it's unavoidable. So, let me think. Is there anything else that I wanted to ask you about this presidency? Oh, yes. What do you see for the future? There's been a lot of talk about getting younger people into the club, and I know you made a very, what I consider a very good statement. It's basically, we'll have fun, and we won't worry too much about young people. If they want to join us, we're going to make them feel very welcome and do our best to attract that type, but we're not going to worry about it too much. Is that still your goal?
That's the only thing that I think will work, is for us to encourage our passion, have a lot of fun. I think that's what's attractive. That's what will bring new members in. Worrying about young people, worrying about the future is exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
And but each year coming up with a new boat, a new motor, trying to get the right prop to get a little bit ahead of the other guy, laughing a lot. It turns out that we have young guys showing up.
Yeah, we do
getting interested, and and I think that's what's attractive. That's what's going to encourage people to be active members, and that's what keeps me interested.
Yeah,
we have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot. We share with each other parts, and we encourage each other. And
so as a head shrinker, is your regular business, you must find it quite interesting. The club members are quite diverse politically, in their interests, in what they see in the club and what they see in what they put together and make it run. I mean, it's a very, very diverse group. Very interesting.
Yes, it is. People
Yes.
come from all walks of life, and you're a professional outboard mechanic. You have been forever and ever. We have lots of members that come to this hobby through mechanical trades. And then there's other of us that have never done anything like this before. We just start tinkering. We've always wanted to, and we just fall into it. I was here in my barn quietly doing this alone, trying to figure it out by myself. And when I discovered there's a bunch of you guys out there, it was I went to my first outboard meet at one of our members' homes, and I came home and I said to my wife, "You think I'm crazy? This guy's got like 75 outboards."
Speaking of David's wife, when we did the series on the Magic Barn and the Field of Dreams, she looked at the video and was quite horrified. And I thought to myself, well, there's a lady who's got a very blind eye. That's nice.
Wow. We have 3 children, and they're all they're mostly grown now. But when they were little, my wife would be in the house with them a lot, and I would escape out here to the barn, and she just never seemed to find her way out into the barn very much. And also, when I would bring home new projects, I would bring them around the other side of the barn and out back. And I thought she was very kind, that she would never complain about it. And one summer, we had some friends visiting from out of state, and one of the couple came, always liked to see what project I was working on. And one year his wife came out with him, and she looked around. She was shocked to see how many outboards I had here and how many boats I had. And she went in and said to my wife, "Boy, David he must have 100 outboards out there." And my wife said, "What?" And she came out, and she just hadn't been out here in years. She was shocked to see all these projects out here, but so
That's cool.
Anyway.
Yes.
the gig is up.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true for all of us, to be honest with you. But it's a great hobby. It's a lot of fun.
She comes to meets and she has fun with us, and so
That is good.
she'd say there's a lot worse things I could be getting involved in. So,
That's for sure.
Yeah.
For all of us. Yes. Well, you have anything else, David?
I'm just I'm looking forward to a short winter, hoping for a short winter. Our season got sort of slogged down this year with COVID. We still were able to do some meets, but I'm hoping that by next year, we'll all be in the clear and we'll be able to get out and have fun with each other again. But I hope everybody's has a safe and healthy winter, and I look forward to a rejuvenated season next year.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right.
So
Thank you very much.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right. And would you mind saying that's all, folks?
Oh, come here, Frosty.
And
Frosty
this
says-
is the winner. This is the winner closing. And Frosty says,
That's all, folks.
"Thank you, Frosty."